So just because you're not getting the hits that you want doesn't mean that it's low quality if you get 10 hits on YouTube. You know, and we also want to have dialogue about non-radicalized video tube options outside of YouTube and outside of BitChute. And at present, I don't know of any, but Substack. Substack does allow, apparently, unfortunately, white supremacy content from what I'm reading in the news. So
Have you tried Odyssey?
it's any so it's anything goes at Substack, but as long as Substack isn't going to censor me, I will still use Substack and set up my shop or my members area. I don't use Odyssey again, nor Rumble, because it is 95 to 99% like swayed in this right-wing direction. I want a neutral, conspiracy-aware platform that doesn't get into the left-right paradigm, hating certain races or getting involved in Islamophobia, when, of course, in this nation, there's so many people that are into aliens, UFOs, stories about Bigfoot and alien abduction, and they refuse to even examine a spiritual Sufi who does not believe in oppressing women to hear what he has to say about these unseen forces. And you having a spiritual tradition in aspects of either Judaism, the Torah, or Kabbalah, and then there's my spiritual tradition with Sufism, and then whatever is there with the Norse and the Welsh bloodline and the Austrian. We're really coming together and having a discussion in which the powers that be want people like you and me to kill each other, an Arab or an Afghan or a Middle Eastern people and a Jew. And what we're doing is showing that two people that are being engineered to be at war with each other are actually exposing the New World Order. And Gypsy, that's why we are hated.
Cool. Yeah, I agree.
And so I said enough. I'm going to pause and hear what you have to say. So you're traveling through America and you're seeing the real world as it is.
Yeah, I'm a truck driver, and I just stopped working. I just quit working for a company because of the usury and abuse system that happens to truckers. I was being
What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean by that. Just give us an overview.
Overworked, underpaid, and they trap you because you're out on the road. So
I do know what you mean. So back in the day, they would use tweak, and then because they worked them so hard, they started running drug tests.
Correct. And so now, like, I'm the kind of person, I don't want to work so much, even if it has extra money, because I use my downtime when the truck is stopped to work out. I eat a clean diet, and I like to study, whether it's watching a video or reading a book. So I just need a nice balance, and I don't want a whole bunch of money, but I want to get paid for the work I do. And so they actually have lowered the wages, and they have you working not really more hours. It's just they're giving you more to do in a shorter amount of time. And the bad thing is, if you live in California or wherever and you're out on the road, like in New York or Virginia, you're far away from home. And when you start seeing little subtle games and tricks they're playing on you to get more work and more deliveries out of you, you get upset, but there's not a lot you can do about it because you're so far away from home. They have you trapped. Now, most people can't do anything about it because they don't have the experience to pack up and go somewhere else. Once you've driven for like 2 or 3 years, you can get a job anywhere like that. So I was working for a company, and they started playing little games with me, and I was so far away from home that I had to allow them to abuse me, not physically abuse me, but abuse me by taking advantage of me. And it takes a lot out of you because you literally feel, I mean, in a way, you're tied up and getting kicked in the face, metaphorically, because you're stuck in a truck and you can't just leave it on the side of the road. And so, anyway, so I made it back, and now I'm back in my van. And I live in my van by choice because I save money and I prefer to not be around a lot of people, and I like to move around to different locations. So right now I'm driving back to the city I live in. I'm in Northern California, and I'm driving my van back there and talking to Mr. Ansary. So I thought he's not on.
So there are comments coming in right now Like they're listening to me, dude. They're listening to us. Don't you get it? I'm a target. Like up the ass, I'm a target. Up the
Yeah, I
fucking
am also.
ass. They fucking
I am
targeted me in my
also.
community through a fucking black man because they hijacked him. It wasn't gang stalking, it was an entity. An entity jumped into a dude who hangs out with a crack house 4 houses down or a Section 8 house. And he followed me around the house. So basically, people are accusing me of censorship in the comment section, saying that's all I need to know about you. I don't know who these people are, but they might be in Pagosa because I told you, Gypsy, that you need to listen. I have been doing shit this week that never happened in 44 years. I'm coming out of the closet, not so much homosexually because I'm not homo. I'm coming out of the closet as a man of truth. So I don't know what's coming in a couple months, but something's coming. Okay, and a day is going to come where you got to get on YouTube and tell people what happened and that I told you this was coming. And you got to upload more than 5 times in multiple channels because you know they're going to stop you. You know they're going to stop you, and you know they're going to look for your identity. You're going to have to invest in voice changer software. You're going to have to actually do some studying, actually how to be anonymous, because you're not anonymous. They know who you are. They know where you are. They know where you work. If you're going to back me up and you're worried about shit, you need to actually discover how to be anonymous. Okay, so if you don't talk about these phones, you need to know that you need to go area where there's no surveillance and upload with a computer that has never once logged into any of your websites. You do know this, right? That every device has a signature to it. Every device,
Yeah,
there is no such thing as being anonymous on your computer. You literally have to have a designated laptop that you have never once done to sign into your personal emails or look at your personal banking details. You understand what I'm saying? There is no such thing as being anonymous unless you have a designated device that you use at a place in which you don't have to sign in for Wi-Fi and you don't have to give your identity and you can put on a mask. Don't diss the masks completely as you do. Masks are your friends. I disagree with you again. Masks will be your friends in the future. Remember these words. Masks are not your enemy. Masks will be your friends in the future when you're hiding from facial recognition. If they give you an excuse legally to hide your identity, don't fight that shit. Remember that. Write that one down. Next time you get angry at the mask. Mask might save your ass one day when it's normal to wear a mask and you're getting out of Dodge. Bookmark that statement I just said. Tattoo that in your hand. One day you might need a mask. Keep a few masks in your car. You don't know when you're going to need a mask to cover your identity. You know, and so what they also did with the mask thing on purpose is they made it easy for criminals to rob us. They did what they did on purpose with the mask thing to give criminals an extra edge over society.
Yeah.
Individual cops aren't in on it. They don't know, but they're being told that anybody could kill them with the virus, as you know. So they're not going to hold criminals accountable if they're told if they try to arrest someone that they're going to be dead. So it's all set up for criminals to take over because you know the criminals aren't going to listen. They're going to have their guns. They're not going to wear their masks. They're going to do their thing, you know, and so they're not going to listen. So I'm under energy attack right now, and I need to start talking to you about how to back it off because I don't know how long this is going to happen.
What kind of energy attack are you under? Like from like demonic shit or from individuals? Like what exactly can you pinpoint what you think
It's
is
in the
attacking
comment
you?
section. It's things that they're saying to me that are pointing at mental illness.
How many people are commenting?
It looks like 4.
All
I don't
right.
know how
And
many
so
people, you know, that, you know, they made it a little harder to start new. No, they didn't. You can, if you know how to do it, this is what I understand about the world right now is the more intelligent, savvy folks that are out there that are savvy with like tech are like Satanists and Nazis. And people that don't really have a good grasp of tech that are like more godly folks, they don't know tech. They don't know how to make websites. They don't know how to wipe their ass. They got nothing but trauma. We're talking about people like you and me, people that basically have no functional skills in the real world with technology that can't deal with Satanists around us. Now, I don't believe anything you're saying about shedding, and I'm doubling down, but I do believe that they are shedding entities into us and that are making us sick. So I believe with what you're saying, but I don't believe in your root cause because I know people, and I'm not telling you specifics because I know your philosophy, they're vaxxed, they're totally healthy. So your understanding of the vax is wrong. There's plenty of totally healthy people that are vaxxed. I'm telling you the truth. And let me tell you why this happened, Gypsy. Because a day is going to come where the real virus is coming. And so because they did what they did, no one's going to take the vax when they might need to next time. So when there actually
Yeah.
is a real danger and we really do need to maybe prevent ourselves, no one's going to trust it. They're going to go around unprotected, and a bunch of people are going to end up dead. And the only people that are going to survive are people that are off in the wilderness that follow advice like you and me. And so that's really our sexual perversion of the Western world that wants to see the woman stripping all the time, naked, getting the gangbang, sucking a bunch of dick. They're at war with the Islamic woman who isn't the gangbang queen. Pause. Your thoughts? They want them to be
Wow.
gangbang
First
queens.
off,
They don't like the fact that they believe in marriage first. So I'm not saying the Muslims are all good, but they believe in dignity sexually. Okay. In America, we're taught to fuck up
yeah,
the
I
ass
agree.
and all types of like really deranged things that their religion say is no good.
America is a deranged, psychotic snake pit, and I agree with everything you said about Americans wanting to see people gang raped and sucking 50 dicks, getting beat up, and
What I'm trying to do is get a spiritual ritual going on this morning so
black,
I can back off
brown,
this.
green, purple, orange.
I told my audience last night what you told me. Just so you know, are you there? But so do you want to
So this is
share?
what
Do you want to share where you're at? Or yeah, so you're out there somewhere off grid.
I am way the fuck off grid. I decided to come up here. What is this? Okay. I decided to come up here to get out of the city. And so I used to have a house on 40 acres about 30 miles from here. So I'm familiar with the area. And this is backwoods. And so I'm like 50 miles from a highway. And because it's snow like out here, that there's nobody running around. So I have the whole like mountain to myself. Sick,
Interesting.
huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah, I
that
got
looks
my
nice. Is that snow on the ground? That
yeah,
is
yeah.
snow. Okay.
I was just talking to a ranger, and she gave me a really good spot to go to tomorrow. And she was telling me because of the snow, no one's even up here anywhere. So I'm like, cool.
I have an interview later on, but I can't sleep. I'm at a hotel motel. Obviously, vibes are weird. So let's talk for a little bit about psychic self-defense and the craziness going on. So I did a video where I just talk about different types of meditations. And then you have the river so you can ground. I try to carry like little rocks with me like this, and then to charge them, picking up little things like this. I really wasn't as into rocks last year and the year before. And when I was off grid, I really wasn't into rocks or aloe vera plants. So I'm actually trying to do more to be grounded now that I'm back in an urban environment, and I see Twitter erupting with violence and then promoting
Oh
different
wow.
types of racial violence. I know you don't spend a lot of time on it, but like I'll just try to summarize it for you and others, and then get your take on it and maybe what you want to talk about Palestine and Gaza and how they're orchestrating that. But basically, I've been saying that like they're putting out all this different content targeting different groups at the same time to get people to react. And I've been saying people get reactive to the solar flares. I've been saying that for a long time. So now the solar flare cycle is ramping up. We're heading towards an eclipse. People are already acting badly because of the eclipse and animals. And so all these super, super violent videos are coming through the
Really?
string that normally aren't seen, that normally they filter out. We're talking videos of Hindus beating Muslims like to death type videos, whipping people. And so you can come across watches going, F those people, they're barbarians, because it's showing you an abnormally high amount of it. Whereas before they showed you none of that. So what am I supposed to believe, that like India was normal one day, and all of a sudden they just lost their shit? And then also what am I saying is that it's like they've set this thing up to be for years it was the Muslims, and East Indians have benefited from migration in some ways more than them and people from certain countries due to the way that they're preferred. But now it's like the tables are turning to like, and seeing Elon Musk and the type of videos coming through, like whatever's going on in India shouldn't happen. We need to address, you know, the Hindu extremism, whatever's going on with Modi, but that doesn't represent every individual Hindu. So anyway, that's one example. And then there's another video of a white guy beating up a black guy, and it's being suggested in the For You. So there'll be like these So you don't spend any time on Twitter, okay? And some people
Yeah.
wrote there are certain channels, like Crazy Clips is like a name with some sort of at whatever. And so certain channels, who knows who owns them, will be showing extreme violence that's not pornographic, but it's extremely violent, right? Right now, there's a lot of videos showing mobs of black teens beating up white people. And some of the videos, though, are from last year. Like you could be watching this, having a super emotional, traumatic experience watching it, and we didn't know about it, but there's no context for a lot of the videos. Time, place, date, was there an arrest, did it make the news? Just a lot of like basically loosh. I'm gonna say this, then pause. We got plenty to talk about. The idea of energy harvesting from the unseen realms comes up because you're dealing with extreme violence and suffering in the human domain. These people are straight up possessed. There's another video of basically these guys in Vegas beating up this white guy, and then another video. And so, yes, it's happening. The anti-white hate, you can call it, and you've experienced it too, but it also seems provocative. Like I said, because they're amplifying it so greatly. Yeah, I'll pause with that one.
I can't even watch any of that stuff.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. It's what I'm saying is, so you can't watch it. What I'm saying is, I'm on Twitter and it's on the For You tab. Sure, I could switch over to the followers tab. What I'm saying is, it's set up on Twitter, the X default, to show you stuff that you don't want to see.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
At times it can happen on YouTube, but YouTube seems to have more filters in place to make sure it doesn't get pushed as much. So seeing the role that X is playing in promoting violence towards different groups, and seeing that Musk is more or less part of like what I call the anti-human agenda, which transcends an anti-race agenda or an anti-certain human agenda, but just an anti-human agenda. Even if a lot of white right-wingers think that he is cool, and they like to defend him, some of them, and they think that he's on their side. If he's on their side, on the side of white people, the QAnon, the awake truther movement, he has portrayed himself, if you didn't know that, to be an awake truther using, take the rabbit, follow the rabbit, using Matrix lingo and stuff and tweeting that. I knew he was messing with people's minds the whole time he was doing that. Like some joker, like make them think you're their messiah, giving them their basically social media welfare. And so there's a lot of super white supremacist stuff that comes across, but I have a shared sentiment when they show the anti-white violence and the black thuggery. But we don't have to get white supremacists with it. Unfortunately, some will. I'm concerned about the racism towards all the groups, where it be a Jewish guy or an Arabic guy. And I'm not really on anybody's side on the Palestinian-Israeli thing. I don't really want anybody to die. But that's easy to see how they're orchestrating that, and how this kicked off with the eclipse. Okay. Plus, you can look back at previous eclipses and see violence and mob violence. Trump supporters with Antifa, go back a few years when shit was really crazy, when Trump was still in power, around the eclipse of 2020. And I was noting in my autobiography Cliff Notes that I put out recently, a lot of the craziness that I saw when I was off the internet in 2020, in the summer of 2020, around the eclipse, when I drank every other day for a month, which was not common for me.
Oh, wow.
The solar minimum period that we came out of were some dark ages. So like each aspect of the cycle, minimum and maximum, has a positive, negative.
So we're coming. We have another solar eclipse happening when, on the 25th or something?
With all different perspectives on the solar eclipse. It's coming up on the 8th. The effect of the eclipse lasts longer than that. There's all kinds of omens about the eclipse. I'll save some of that for later and then re-upload it. So yeah, I think that we're definitely responding. Like right now, there's a geomagnetic storm. And I said before that these eclipses are waking up the sun. Other things can wake up the sun too, like planetary alignments. And supposedly we're going through that too. So I'm saying is some of us have that, like you say, that spark go off, where we're creative and innovative and all that stuff, positive stuff. Others, though, demon soul folks, they're running around looking for people to victimize and rape. On 3/4/2024, a mob of black teens beat up an autistic white girl. Within 24 hours, there's all these X-class solar flares that are erupting. So it's not so much the sun to blame per se, but yes, the sun is going to be active in around periods in which there's going to be that mob violence. but not just black on white, just mob violence in general. If you want to talk about white on non-white, what I prefer to focus on, without making it racial, is just the overseas wars. Afghanistan, Iraq, after the solar cycle of 9/11 period, the solar cycle 24. And after that cycle, we got less powerful solar cycles. If you didn't know, there's a big obsession with the grand solar minimum crowd. If you've heard my videos, you've heard what I think about that people just talk about the sun dying for some suspicious reason when it's not dying. It is powerful. And there's a flat earth psyops movement out there that's got a lot of people confused when nobody was talking like that 15 years ago when I got involved in this in 2005 and 10. Nobody was running around going flat earth, derpy, derpy, derp, derp. The white nationalism, this, that, and the other, that wasn't at all activated till Obama came in. So I have to keep reminding people, especially when they're older folks, that I'm kind of an old school conspiracy person. I'm proud now, not ashamed to be nonpartisan, but I don't need to prove to people anything about Trump if they want to worship him and or Biden, but I never hear from Biden worshipers. But if people want to follow Trump over a cliff, go ahead. But people don't seem psychotic about him right now. I suspect, and I hope not, but I suspect they'll have a false flag or some event that'll just whip the masses up into this big populist movement. Trump's the Messiah again. They don't really have a supercharge right now because they don't have a series of events like they did when Trump came in 2014 and 15. Events in France, they had the France riots, but I'm talking events like what they had in 2015, which I believe probably half of those were staged. And the alleged rapes of Germany, some people, because you notice they don't talk about that anymore, some people said some of that was exaggerated, whatever they claimed happened with the Berlin rapes of New Year's 2014. I'm not saying nothing happened. I'm saying that there was compelling evidence that some people posted on blogs saying, and that would be easy to do. The other concern that I've had that Twitter would be showing deepfakes eventually, or other social media sites, make it look like certain things are happening also. So just look, Twitter was promoting all types of content saying that in Haiti they were eating people, but the mainstream news was saying no, that's not true. There's shit going down, they're killing people, but this barbecue gang leader is eating people, they said that was an old video allegedly from 2 years ago. So then why would Twitter then be trying to make the situation like a zombie apocalypse instead of just like this gang, killing situation? Why push it? There's more. There was a girl, again, another beating of a white teen by black teens, and she was smashing her head into the ground on the concrete. It was supposed to be a fight. Then she went overboard. Again, solar flare right before that. Why am I the only one who's making the connection that these more extreme acts of violence are occurring when the sun is more active? And I got to be calm for this national radio show so that I could try to get the message across. Anyway, like he'll be interjecting here and there, like pulling me back so I don't go off on too far of a tangent. And I really want to.
When are you supposed to do this interview?
You can see I'm in a hotel, so it's going to be at midnight.
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
If you're on Pacific time, midnight.
I am. Oh shit! What is the show called again?
Well, wait, Coast to Coast. Of course, they're going to have their own stream. Shit. I said in the email, didn't I? Unless my emails are getting deleted. I don't know. I said in the email.
I don't think you said Coast to Coast AM on the email. Can you look? I'm almost positive you didn't. If you did, I fucking didn't even see it.
Well, I didn't exactly see some of your recent voice message that you sent from last week. Oh, let's see. The date would have been back in February where I found out about it. But anyway, short story short, and I did talk about this in my autobiography, Cliff Notes, but I'll get more detail later, but I already told you. Before I went on the show in 2019, that's when that black magician showed up that you saw doing the curse thing. That was random, right when I was talking to that producer of Coast to Coast AM. So yeah, I told you, I thought via email and you didn't say anything. So I'm like, oh man, he probably thinks they're part of a conspiracy. So on that note, I don't agree with all their guests. They have QAnon folks, but I don't get the sense that Nori's a bad person, that he forces the Trump stuff down people's throat. He sounds open-minded. He's unlike other people. And if he did have associations with Alex Jones, it was just a commercial thing because he's in the business. So he's a better person compared to most radio host because he's got all that spiritual stuff and they got all the archives on Coast to Coast. And I don't get super bad vibes from the Coast to Coast show even now, even if he's political, and I really don't like political shows. But when I listen to the show, they're not forcing it down people's throat. They have people that listen that are different political persuasions. And some people I notice are very critical of the show for questioning the vaccine and questioning the election. I'm not in the election thing. I'm not in the election thing at all. I think everything's screwed up there on both sides. So I'm not for either. But they kind of will go in that direction instead of, but that's fine. I have the maturity, to take the information that they want to hear and leave out the stuff. I don't even talk about all the fake news and the conspiracy theory movement that I want to call out. But if they want to give me an opportunity in the future to go even bigger than solar flares, I'm kind of prodding them for that, just so you know, to let me come back and talk about bigger issues in 6 months or a year about me calling out the dark side of conspiracy theory and how we need to realign our priorities. I already told that to them. If I'm not trying to force it, I'm going, do you want to go deeper? Today, I'm just going to talk about what we agreed, the sun and wars. There's a connection there, and the conspiracy theory movement is asleep at the wheel. And the SOAR researchers are aware of it, but they fail to see some events that are staged, that are manufactured. So there's numbers 322, but as I was going to tell you, there's a positive side. As I think to 33, 322. Here I am going to go on the show on 322. It was accidental.
That's my birthday. That's my birthday too.
Interesting.
322 is my birthday.
On that note, I'm seeing lots of 144s.
Wow.
Lots of 444s at a rate that I've never seen, that's been accelerating like in the last few weeks, like 10, 20, 30 times a day, looking at clocks, this, that, and the other time codes for videos that I record, lots of them being 33s or 33s or combination of 4s and 1s or 5s. And then I read that 66 was about restoring balance and slowing your ass down because you're going too fast, when I was just reading about angel numbers. And then I was studying.
Yeah, 666 is right.
I want to remember this before I forgot. So today I had to fix some mistakes on the paperback, the 200 pages of my blogs on the solar flare. So that's on Amazon. And it was 4 books that I sent to 4 people. And there's 13 chapters in it. It ended up being 13 chapters, 4 books that I sent out. And then the shipping for each book was $4.13. 4 books, 13 chapters each, $4.13 for each of the 4 books that I sent out. My mom, my dad, a friend in Oregon, and my uncle, who hasn't heard from me in maybe 5 or 10 years. But I've gone off on him about him on video and the unresolved past of living on the farm in Aurora. But anyway, psychic self-defense. I bought a friend in Oregon a book on that. And so basically, I've been on the air in Portland, Oregon for a couple months now, as far as Access TV. It's just a little channel for those that are at home that are going to flip through that Xfinity channel. And I don't know what's going on with the people in Portland, Oregon, but they're not responsive. But I read, just because people aren't responsive to radio shows or Access TV via email doesn't mean they're not listening. Just because they're not online, they're not responsive. People are so lazy, they don't take the time to email, say they're watching. So I've invested lots of psychological energy in Portland in 3 months. And that is an energetic wasteland right now. And it just seems like, so in some of the things I'll talk about tonight, they like it if you give them an idea of what you want to talk about ahead of time, a few notes. One of those things is like a warning to Portland. I wrote a few things down, and instead of tell myself exactly, what I'm going to say, right? Like write it down and write it down and write it down like I did last time, which is good to write it. I'm not doing that this time. I'm speaking like I'm speaking right now to you, ad lib, without any hesitation, looking at notes, talking off the top of my head. Basically 2025, and it's not only me warning about 2025, it's the late Tom Horn, who was on Coast to Coast, warning about 2025. The Essenes, I don't know much about that. I might want to look that up briefly. The Essenes have some sort of calendar, allegedly, of 2025 to 2075.
The Essenes supposedly trained Jesus in the secret society, mystery Babylon, a religion stuff. I don't know if you've heard that. I've heard that. I don't know for sure.
I've heard things. I'm listening. I'm typing in a scenes calendar 2025, 2075. There's controversy around one of the main guy that pops up on YouTube. I mean, controversy is like there's videos attacking him saying they're crazy. But people also say the same thing about the SOAR research. I ordered some books on the sun also from a guy who I think is almost pro Great Replacement Theory-ish. Everything he says is basically blaming the left, but because he cites actual scientific studies, I will listen to a person or read from a person I disagree with, and it will still expand my understanding of the many studies that are out there, and I can have a different interpretation than him. He happens to think that white people have a more adverse reaction to the solar minimum when the sun is less active, like the period that we came out of. And that may ring true too. I think your soul matters too, not just your genetics, your race, but your soul. So I think they're wrong in just looking at race. But anyway, yeah, we are some of us activating. And I noticed the other day when I was walking outside, the cops chased someone. Didn't see who they were chasing, but they were looking for someone with their flashlight. I've seen them come to where I live 4 times in the last couple of years with a flashlight, looking for people because it's on a route where criminals sometimes flee. And then around the time of the eclipse, which was, I think, the 13th of October, after that whole October 7th fiasco, I'm going live on Facebook, and they keep shutting me down too, because I'm exposing a lot of stuff and talking about making predictions, and I kept getting shut down. And if you say certain things, it's not pro-Islamic. If you say there's some positive things about Islam, even if you're not Muslim, it just stops the stream. And that's what it was doing to me. It was immediately stopping it. I said, in the name of Jesus, in the name of this, and I got really, pumped up and started going down the religions. And when I got to Muhammad, that's when the stream ended. So I know for a fact America has been brainwashed into thinking that the algorithm's pro-Islamic, and then they've been mimicking that too. Like sometimes people might go to a website, it's in Arabic, or somebody point out on Twitter when it said on Google, world's greatest man's Muhammad. Like they don't think that the algorithm is there to kind of drive them nuts, with the anti-white stuff, the pro-Islam stuff, or the woke stuff. They're not, conspiracy theorists are not suspicious of the conspiracy theories that are staring them in the face. Basically, I know that my brain is growing from this experience. So you have good tips. We're recording now. People can check out Gypsy Fox on BitChute, although I hate BitChute, stupid BitChute, Nazi Chute. But you can you get spiritual protection going on and watch Gypsy Fox on BitChute.
I'm on YouTube too. Also,
I'm on YouTube. Okay, yeah. And YouTube. So you talk about grounding, apple cider vinegar, black pepper with cayenne, mixing things together, get the most effect, not using synthetic vitamin D, using the real thing, observing the homosexual lust fest at the rest stop stations in California. Although it's not just homosexuals.
You want to talk about demonically possessed people. When you're out in an area where the gay people, and I have no problem with gay people. I had friends that were gay when I hung out with people. But when these homosexuals roll up to you, to me, they're demonically possessed. Like they're giving off the energy, like they are demon controlled. And they're so bold and direct that it's like they don't. These are, they're high on, they come rolling up to you and they don't beat around the bush. They get right to the point. And it's just like, wow. And so I look at it as demonic possession. The vibe I get from these people, I don't care what they look like. They could be a little skinny, like I had a little skinny Pakistani guy. I could have broke him in half. However, his energy and his vibe, he started talking to me. And the first thing I said to myself, this guy's possessed. Gay or not, there's no way somebody would act that way unless they were under demonic control. And when you dabble in drugs, in promiscuity, to where you have a lot of sex, even if you're heterosexual or gay, it's things, etc. They say there are millions of demons to the right and millions of demons to the left, and they're always looking and waiting for an opening.
Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, I got you perfect.
Okay, it comes and goes. So I'm just going to try to go back, bounce back and forth. The Sufi Realities channel, I bought a few of his books. He talks about shaitan, evil, hitting us, the jinn, archons. I'm not sure the Jewish term that you might use for the entities. Basically, that we're getting hit from the 6 points is what he said, I think. So we have to like protect and shield like 6 points. Also the top. Trying to figure this out. But basically, I know that there's hidden messages and water has 6 sides. And that's some sort of a sacred symbol. That's a spiritual symbol, along with other symbols. And then you were pointing out the Knights Templar inversion or use of the sacred cross in one of your videos. And I want to learn more about that. But I think there's a spiritual positive side that was initially where the symbols came from. Then they stole it and then brainwashed everybody to not have any knowledge about this stuff. I see people driving using that symbol as a protective symbol, the cross, the New Mexico flag in their car. And I've been feeling drawn to even paint it and get one. And so it's clear also that AI is going to label all those hate symbols and not allow people to use it in their groups, because I saw it happen to me when I try to put up a symbol and it's like shut down the group immediately. But yet the corporations get to use it, and we point that out, Chevron and this and that and the other. So they're using that for a purpose. And they're hijacking these symbols. But anyway, the solar symbol, not just the solar symbol, but the solar energy, this seems to be all related. I'm trying to connect the dots. The solar symbol, the solar energy.
It's all connected, in these symbols are a language. Like when you see symbols and then you put them together, it's a language. It's spelling something. The spelling will put you under a spell. It means something. It projects something. And so that's why you'll get people running around with all these signs and symbols on their clothes that represent a corporation. Those corporations know that those symbols will project whatever it is they're trying to project on the world, which in my opinion is something negative and nefarious and evil. And so it's just like with the Adidas, I got the Adidas here. It's a pyramid, I've got the 3 stripes, 33. That means something, it's a representation. The 33, Jesus started his ministry at 30 and he died at 33. The sun sets on the 33rd parallel. America dropped the bomb on Hiroshima on the 33rd parallel. There's all these connections and signs and symbols and numbers, and you add 3 and 3 together, you get 6. And in Pythagorean numerology, each number has a positive and a negative to it. And so when people are running around projecting symbols and they don't know exactly what they mean, and they're wearing it they're wearing it without really like trying to, like you're just buying clothes and it's on it, then the people you're buying those clothes from are trying to do something with that symbol. It's saying something. It's projecting something. In most of what we're going through right now is evil things, and so everything has a yin and a yang to it. There's a balance to everything, and right now the scales are tipped so far in the red in terms of everything is evil right now. We're getting to a point to where things are going to break, things are going to snap. It has to eventually rebalance itself, but in order to get there, we're going to go through some really, really bad things. And that's why I think you're seeing so much of these symbols and you're starting to put it together. And, like you said, the New Mexico flag, when you get down to it, that's the symbol of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templars weren't good guys. The Knights Templars were, it's an early branch of Freemasonry. And as Albert Pike said, the Pope of Freemasonry, make no mistake about it. Our God is Lucifer. But they don't see Lucifer is evil. They see God as evil because God kept knowledge from people, whereas Lucifer brought down the light. Lucifer represents Prometheus or vice versa. Prometheus brought down the fire from the gods. The fire represents light. That's knowledge. And so you're dealing with people that we would consider evil, but what they're projecting and bestowing upon us, to them, is good. And they practice Kabbalah. There's Kabbalah in every religion. It's not just Jewish Kabbalah. There's Islamic Kabbalah, Christian Kabbalah, Hermetic Kabbalah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing that's universal is that in the Kabbalah, there is no good or evil, because something evil may need to be done for good to happen in the long run. That's where that saying is, the end justifies the means. So if you're one of us, a little guy, and you're on the receiving end of something evil being done to make something good happen, we're going to consider it evil. So there's an inversion and an imbalance. And unless you get people that start practicing natural law to where, you know what good and bad is, and we don't need to invert everything and confuse everything, because once you do that, then you're taking normalcy, and you're turning it on its head to confuse people, and that's being evil. But to them, lying and confusing is evil, not to them, but it will result in a utopia. But people got to remember, the utopia isn't for us, it's for them. So if they kill as many of us as they can, if they have us murdering babies under the name of abortion instead of calling it baby sacrifice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the world will eventually be a utopia. But a utopia for who? Not for me and you, for them. And so people will see that and go, what they're doing is a good thing, because it's going to result in everybody singing Kumbaya. And it's like, yeah, the people are going to be singing Kumbaya are the people that are running everything. And so when I see the signs and symbols all over the place, I see a language, because that's what it is. And because I know there's two sides to every coin, it's saying something really bad and evil and nefarious. And you talk about the solar cycles and the moon eclipses. I believe in that too. And I think that what's happening when you get a solar flare or something going on in the celestial, it's bringing out and empowering demonic forces. And when you study it, the demonic forces, you have Lucifer that falls under Satan, that works for Satan. They're two different entities. People don't know that. Interesting about Satan is that in the Bible, in Job, God employed the Satan to go out and terrorize and screw with people. So is the God in the Bible actually a good guy, but they've inverted it to make us believe he is and worship him and sing songs like holy, holy, holy in Kabbalah is 666. So there's so much confusion and distortion. And when you go into the good book where there's Torah or the Bible or whatever you want to call it, why is there a God that's supposed to be loving and caring and created all of us, employing Lucifer, the leader of planet Earth, to go out and torment and screw with people? And so, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, Go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to like the language of symbols, like again, I have a different perspective on the cross, because I'm still researching that, and I have books on that now that talk about Jesus and the Son and the origins of the cross, way pre-Templar. But the language of symbols, like when I see the Punisher logo, to me, I don't see a positive version of that. It's a symbol that means something. It was used in Iraq and Afghanistan towards some civilians. It was used, maybe like a sigil might be the right word, with the Kyle guy, the American Sniper guy. And I'm really
trip on this. What you're seeing, like when you see the Punisher thing, all you're seeing is the Jolly Rogers. You're seeing the skull. That skull represents Freemason, and it also represents what's that school at Yale? A Skull and Bones. Skull, SKULL, in Freemasonry is an acronym for seek you all and be one. Skull and Bones. Seek you all and be one. So when you're seeing these skulls, whether it be the voodoo skull, and you go into a truck stop and they have ashtrays and shot glasses, and they have that skull, that voodoo skull, it's the same thing as the Jolly Roger or the Punisher or whatever. It's just a little bit of an inverted, they changed it a little bit, but it all still means the same thing. And at the end of the day, it symbolizes death and murder and destruction.
I agree. I noticed in Portland, there was an obsession with skull and bone stuff. I noticed after Bush left into Obama at strip clubs on the panties of the girls that danced, the skull and bone stickers. It wasn't the Punisher skull. It was skull. It was a different skull. And then I was calling out recently how a lot of conspiracy people aren't calling out the Punisher, even though they called out Skull and Bones 322 for years. And I do see, like, I've been calling out a former friend of mine in some videos how he led me to heroin in 1998 or 9. He tried to pretend he was spiritual around 2013 or 14 when he was doing the Buddhist thing. So I see him doing like the Indian meditative like posture with the sister, and there's all these skulls in the background. But I know to them it's like a spiritual thing. It doesn't necessarily mean skull bones or something evil. But I'm not, for some reason, I'm not drawn to all the skulls. I know with the Hispanic heritage, there's a Day of the Dead thing. You know, I don't understand it. It's not my spiritual tradition, but I'm not trying to demean it. But I'm just not drawn to the obsession with skulls and stacking skulls. And there does seem to be something supernatural with it. I forgot exactly where I was going with that, but the Punisher logo, when I was at the gym in Durango Sports Club, there was a guy who had the Punisher logo, came in to work out. I was talking to you about that time period 3 or 4 years ago briefly, and he would work out at 6 o'clock in the morning. I would go early because I want to avoid everybody, not see anybody. But he would be there working out obsessively every day, not even looking like he's enjoying his workout, but looking just nuts. And then looking at me. And then, so in that case, symbols can be an identifier. And I also notice them popping up on Hispanic people, also people that are Black using the Punisher logo. Like I've been saying in some of my videos, we are in the era of both the Black and the white supremacists sometimes working together, whether they know it or not. I'm not in support of, I guess, foreigners getting a free ride, if that's how bad it is. But they're not all getting a free ride. There's a lot of hardworking people. But
of course.
but I think that I didn't want to jump topics. The refugees that are in America, they're in a bad situation and they're undereducated. A lot of them have Stockholm syndrome. You come across them more because you're, I guess, on the West Coast, and you don't mind sharing that with the audience that you're on the West Coast. So I know that on the West Coast where you're at, they have a lot of them, more of them than in Portland, than in Colorado, than other places, from what I understand. So they tend to be, in my opinion, sending them, a lot of them in certain pockets of the US, to where there's shitloads of them, and they're not at all in other places in the US. There might be popping up, but they really seem to be concentrating them in spots, and they're not necessarily the best spots for them. And then Sasha Dobler, who writes from his slightly right-wing perspective on the solar flares, he talks about, get this, different refugees coming over. They did studies apparently on Sweden on them having schizophrenia or certain criminal psychoses when they travel and they move from one latitude to another. And I wouldn't say just them, but other people too. He even speculated that white people are more susceptible to the solar minimum. So maybe that's why a lot of white people were really upset about solar minimum. You know, also when I was going like, what's the big deal? I think like certain people in their certain latitudes, or if they're up in the mountains too high during solar minimum, by the way, they could be affected by the cosmic rays, which could be affecting them in other adverse ways. There's some studies on that. Cancer rates. The other thing is cardiac. A lot of people are dealing with cardiac issues when the sun is active. So I've been brainstorming ways to life coach people through this process, and being that you're athletic and whatnot, you know a little bit about the solar stuff. It's not just demonic. It really boosts up our athletic abilities, on a level. That's
I believe that too.
And spirituality, if you intend it to be spiritual and not demonic, then you can shift it. The solar energy, the God force energy, if you will. But if you don't shift it, and then I'll pause to hear what I'm thinking. If you don't shift it and learn how you're affected, then you can almost become taken over by the force, and the energy might even, because the Sufi realities guy says everybody has a jinn attached to him, or an entity, basically. And that makes sense to me, that basically maybe more people have this going on than what they think. And then when the solar cycle kicks off, or other celestial things, maybe certain planets, maybe they can power up those entities, and they have maybe a little bit more of a foothold on that human or humanity. And then you have things like mass hysteria, mass killings, because you have basically. So I would love to be able to find out exactly what is happening in India, going back to that. Is it something that really is blowing up out of proportion? Because I have seen for years stories about women being gang raped by 30, 40 people in public. That stuff doesn't happen here in America. So is it really spreading? And I've tried to talk to an Indian woman about it, and she just said, I'm Christian, did not want to talk at all about India.
Wow.
When I had a chance to talk to an Indian woman, she just like, I'm Christian. I don't have nothing to do with that. Like I
You
tell
know
you,
what's
when I
weird?
meet
Like,
refugees and I bump into them here locally, they don't want to have dialogue about the things that are taking place. Yeah.
you know what's interesting about Indian people is like I don't know anything about like people from India. However, I was gonna work for a guy one time. He wasn't not okay. What is okay in India? There's masqueraded in it. And Alan would talk about when people would say, "How old is Freemasonry?" and he would go, "Well, how old is ancient Hinduism?" The ancient Hindu, the Brahmins or the Hindus, the ancient Hindus have 5 recorded ages. In each age in Hinduism is millions of years. In the there was some Hindu or not Hindu guy, but the Greeks used to get trained in Egypt in the mystery religion, stuff that we're fighting right now. That they were versed in the mystery religions, and the priests that were teaching the aristocratic class their religion, their beliefs, would tell the Greeks, "You guys don't even know how old you are." And somebody was like, "Well, how old are we?" And he would go, "Well, everything is kind of based on ancient Hinduism, and they have 5 recorded ages, 7 possible, but 5 recorded, and each age is millions of years old." And when you get into Hinduism, some dark shit in it. And when you get into like even yoga and stuff, those poses, and I've heard this from Alan Watt, who's a very credible source, those poses are symbolizing names of certain demons. And so as you progress up this ladder and you're doing these certain poses in yoga, and you got all these, white Karens doing it inside of studios, you're actually bringing in demons into yourself. That's what I'm saying. We're infested by demonic influence. And I'm not saying that yoga people and people from India are evil. It's just that there's an exoteric and an esoteric. So when you have people practicing a religion that has an esoteric to it, on the exoteric, not the eso, when they're on the outside, like Christianity and Judaism and everything like that, there's a priestly class in all religions that practice the esoteric religion. And if they get everybody running around thinking they're doing something good and practicing something that's going to change the world and it's for the better of people, but they're actually masking what it truly means, that's where they use the symbology and the poses in the sayings and the phrases. Because if you're saying something like holy, 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 you're actually saying 666, which is the mark of the beast. And the beast is their God. Satan and Lucifer are their God. That allegory, that metaphor. And so, but what real fast I want to say, like, I was gonna work for he was Sikh, right? And I didn't know there was much different between Sikhs and Hindus. And he goes, "I won't hire Indians." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "They're bad, dude." He goes, "They drive around and do cocaine and alcohol." Like, he goes, "They're into some bad, dark shit. And anytime you have them working for you, something bad."
Where you're at in your area?
Yeah, in
Over there?
California.
Okay.
And so he was telling me all this shit, and I was just like, "Really?" You know what I mean? And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "On the outside, you people here see them as like, yoga and the Maharaji and all this stuff." He goes, "We know them as like, trouble, like they're bad news." And then when you really look into like all the heroin problems and all the crazy shit going on in like England and in Ireland, in Scotland, it all started when the Indians came in. They came in with their connections to the heroin trade. And so when you see an Indian person, you think, peace, love, and a turban. And when you talk to people that have been around them for millions of years, like a Sikh person, and I don't know, And he's telling me, yeah, there's some dark fucking people, their religion and everything. And he goes, they have no rules at all. And I'm like, wow. And so like when you hear a story about somebody being gang raped in India by Indian people, and nobody's doing anything or even gives a shit about it, the reason they don't is because those people are so brainwashed by the esoteric, the evil part of their religion, that they've been convinced that nothing is real. And that if there is something happening to somebody, it's their karma. They deserve it. You can go to India right now and they have a class system set up. And if you're part of the undesirable class and you're a little 6-year-old girl and you're getting gang raped by 40 people, no one gives a shit. And they won't even touch that person physically, let alone stop it, because they believe the karma will rub off on them. And then when you talk about the evil shit that they're doing in our country, trying to stop people from eating things like meat, and they're going to kill all the animals, they've already done that to the fucking Indians in India. They've convinced the Indians in India that a cow could be your mom from a past life. And so when you look at that group of people and where they come from and what they believe in, they're already into some dark shit. So like when I hear about a story of the rape thing, it doesn't surprise me, because I've heard it from enough people, credible sources, that, and then when you just basically scratch the surface and look into their caste system, if that person was an undesirable, fuck them. That's what they think. And it's just like, God damn, there's nothing Christian about that or Jesus about that. That's some fucking dark shit, you know? So, but yeah, that tripped me out about the yoga shit. Each one of those poses are different levels of demons. And that's why like people that are into advanced yoga and they're able to twist and do all kinds of crazy shit with their body, what they're doing is they're opening themselves up to a specific demon. And these specific demons are real things. When you study into like ancient Judaism, there's, there are individual demons with different names that fit the culture and ethnicity and religion of certain groups. But when you get back, it all came from one source. In all religions, all the stories, everything came from India. It's just altered for a certain people, a certain language, a certain ethnic group, etc., etc., etc. And so that's why the esoteric and the exoteric is so important to teach people, is because you could be doing something with the sign and the symbol that you consider good, loving, and holy, except that symbol could be signaling certain demons to possess a certain area or possess a certain group of people or an individual. And
I've
so
heard
there's
that.
a battle. There's a
Yeah.
battle going on 24/7. And when you have people living just in the physical and they don't realize there's a spiritual war going on at the same time, then it's a smorgasbord for the demons. Father Malachi Martin, 25 years ago, was saying on our bell that there has been an 800% increase in demonic possessions just in the northeast part of the United States of America. And you don't get the Catholic Church to declare that somebody's possessed very easily. It's a serious fucking ordeal. 800%. And that was 25 years ago. Think about it now. And so that's one of the reasons I believe they're bringing so many of these people in here from so many different cultures and stuff like that, is because it's empowering a demonic evil influence, not only over people, but over areas, land and buildings and everything, if you read the book, Hostage to the Devil by Father Malachi Martin, at the end of the book, there's like to do an exorcism, there's a certain there's a written prayer that you have to do. That's part of the exorcism, to exorcise a demon that's in a person. Then there's also a different exorcism speech or whatever it's called that you use to exorcise an area, a piece of land, a building, a house. It doesn't matter. And also when you're talking about like working out and stuff like that, it's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that exorcism and exercise are so close, because when you exercise, you're releasing
Yes,
things.
right.
You feel good, you feel great, you have endorphins, and you're really you're exercising and exorcism. You're performing an exorcism in a way, you know. And so
when I go to the gym, I have it's tourmaline that I started to wear. I should have been wearing it a long time ago, and other things. Turquoise necklace, a few other things that I try to charge them with the sunlight. I forget what this is called. Some sort of a cube thing. It's supposed to be an energy booster. This is a funny looking turquoise piece. This is some organite here. It's sitting on the computer itself. I just literally grabbed all this stuff.
oh, cool.
And then this is sugarnite, which is sitting on the laptop. It's meant to be stuck on the laptop, but I'm just basically, this is carnelian and then labradorite. Anyway, I still want to collect more of these. I've had a few of these, and in Pagosa, I lost some rocks that I bought cheap there.
Yeah, each one of those sources has a power to it, and what you're doing right now is you're practicing white alchemy, good alchemy for you. You're putting something positive into those stones, and when you research those stones, there's so much information that comes back on what they do, and how it protects you, and all these different things. And it's up to the individual on whether or not he wants to take those signs, symbols, or objects and use them to project good and happiness and love and compassion and empathy. But then there's also the flip side to that.
As far as the gym, there's a lot of demonic entities. I'm back to that one. I want to hear what the rest you have to say, but the gym, I go in there and I can pick up on the energies the people are releasing.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Cool.
certain people looking at me, usually here, black people, not so much white. White, yes, in Colorado. Here, black, Hispanic, a little bit, white, not so much. And the white people some of them look deformed. The more I look at them, the bigger they are, obesity, even the younger chicks that seem okay. So this hotel room, I come in, there's no chair, there's no blanket. The blanket, well, it looks like some ghetto blanket for 10 or 20 bucks from Walmart. It doesn't look like a motel, hotel blanket. It's like something thicker than a sheet. It's better than a jailhouse blanket, but not much better. A little bit larger, but it's similar type of like, what is this? Not a thick comforter and no chair. I came in confused, going, really? I was literally thinking that I got to go back where I was staying and grab like, my sauna chair. By the way, so I've got one of those $200 saunas where you just stand up in it and sit in it, one of these chairs, and it just pumps the wire in one of these types of devices. It's about this yay big.
Cool.
It hasn't broke on me yet. So when I go into the physical sauna at the gym, I wear the Crocs, I guess they're called, some sort of like to protect your feet. But it's very uncomfortable. I remember when I went to the Durango Sports Club, the energy sharing is pretty intense inside the sauna. So it definitely does a lot for the energy field, for the cardio, for the heart, for the brain, for the detoxification, for circulation. But it like psychically, intimately connects you with the people that you're in there with. I've had this experience also in a sweat lodge with a Native American guy who was kind of, he didn't even seem that spiritual, seemed kind of like a hustler. But anyway, I met him through somebody else. And there we are taking rocks and natural materials from someplace near Taos, New Mexico, sent up an Indian sweat lodge. It was very intense, lasted a few hours. It was back in 2013 when I was in that Taos, Costilla County region there. Yeah, but yeah, I'd rather do it myself than hang out with a group of people. Yeah, yeah. So I like gyms that have a sauna, a real sauna, if it's kept clean. This gym, this 24-hour fitness, yeah, I go in there. I try to keep my eyes to myself. They're supposedly going to get punching bags this week. So I think that's interesting that they're just about to get punching bags and it's Soar Maximum. I find that to be not a coincidence. Like they probably got a lot more interest in martial arts. I was scoping out some MMA gyms here locally, contacted some black guys that had their own YouTube channel that also were into conspiracy stuff, but they did not reply to me back. I gave them a link to one of my channels so they could be some of these militant black martial artists that just like black people, that just see themselves as the ultimate victims. And I see them, despite what is unfortunately bad about some of these cultures, it's true that the internet is radicalizing people against them, especially black people. Black people look at Arabs in many cases, they're being told that they are their former slave masters. I'm seeing this more and more, this opinion. It may have been true, but not all of the Middle East, not all of Arabia. So that's the attitude that a lot of blacks have right now towards Arabs and Middle Easterns. They're going to see them as like their former oppressors. And I think this is all by design, regardless of what people's ancestors did to each other. It's all by design so that there's no sympathy amongst the slave class. So they just hate each other and want to kill each other, even though none of them is in control of shit. So like the minorities and people that I come across are super, super, super stupid. We're talking about people that also like follow white churches. This isn't an anti-white discussion, but they like follow the white savior, fake Jesus thought form thing. And they never even heard of the term, some of them, white nationalism, where I'm at. And it's a metropolitan area. They have such a strong control energetically, Satan, that frequency here, that nobody has. Okay, so there's some young lady that works here at the front desk. And I'm sitting here like, there's no blanket here. There's like nobody home downstairs. And she's got the whole, I'm a millennial, I'm 20 years old, I'm a hot piece of blah, blah, blah. But she has no warm personality. It's like, don't talk to me. I'm dead inside. And there literally is this, like, I'm dead inside. And what's unique about this, and this is really something that people traditionally get uncomfortable with in my audience. Some may not, but it's the idea that, yeah, there is still aspects of white supremacy that really is thriving to where you can go into some areas where it's depressed economically. And there's brown people there and black people there. But the people that got the jobs there at the motels, at the crystal shop, at the mall, they're cute whitey chicks that drive in from, say, 20, 30 miles away. They don't live here. Same thing with managers at the gym. I'm noticing like a pattern here where people travel to come in here to work, but the people here don't get hired. It's just something that I've noticed about here specifically, which is the worst place I've ever lived as far as like energy. I'm safe, so it's better in that regard, to where I did not feel safe in Bagosa. So it's like I'm kind of like, it's like Tom Petty's song, "A Face in the Crowd." I'm a face in the crowd. It's a brown crowd. It's not a white crowd. It's a brown crowd. But just because it's brown, it's not white, doesn't mean it's conscious. It's zombie-ish to the max. And if you want to find like a white person to hang out with, good luck to you. If you're brown and you want to that whites are a minority in this specific region, but yet they're the ones in office. They're the cops. Like I said, they're the ones with the jobs, and they're the ones that are the managers.
Damn.
Meanwhile, the people that are here, that are the young, they're going around stealing catalytic converters, however you say it, right? They have no health insurance. They have no hope. The young people that are here, their hope is to get involved in a gang, get some guns, get some drugs. That's their hope. And so there's no accountability locally, that there's no real hope. And that it's super expensive to live here because there's a massive California exodus here towards here and Portland and places like that from California. They're leaving California in droves. So that's causing the price to surge and causing poverty to spill out of control. So because they don't defund the police, not that they should, they I guess on one level have a tight control over crime, but on another level, there's the sense of uncertainty that everything can explode at any moment once the grid goes out or some emergency. Like I said, because people are impoverished, they're not smart, they're under high-tech mind control, electronic, otherwise, chemtrails, nature's gone. There's some nature, but it's mostly a concrete jungle, with well over, 1 million people. And so it's toxic. Like I told you, I've been to 7 churches here, 7. something symbolic about that too. And I even tried to contact the mosque. I told you that. And then I tried to talk to the Pakistanis. I was watching your video before I emailed you, and you said you went to the Pakistani auto place. Yeah, I'm
I've
not.
been having to do my boss too is Pakistani, and I was loyal to him, and he ripped me off for $15,000. Like, I'm not making it up. And I've been having a lot of bad experience with Pakistani people, man. The Muslim ones, not the, because there's a split in India to where there's Indians and then Pakis, and I don't know what it is. And like I said, I'm not racist at all. It's just I've noticed a pattern. I've had three really bad interactions with Pakis, and one of them was a guy who I was loyal to stole $15,000 from me.
Hmm?
And I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I know in their culture, they're very, I don't know, aggressive. They don't really mean to be. However, in my culture, we fight when you get to that point. And then they automatically go, well, I'll call the cops. So there's no redress with these people. You can't talk to them and try to work it out because they're gonna come across as aggressive. And when you get aggressive with me, I'm gonna fight you. And when they think you're gonna fight them, they call the police, or they threaten to call the police. And so it's like, you just fucked me over extremely bad. What is this? Is this your culture? Is it, like, so I'm not saying all Pakistani people are like that, but it's really weird that I've been having so many problems with them.
So I would just say I know there's a pattern with them, and I don't want to put them in the box. I wouldn't want to be put in a box myself. But as far
Yeah, I
as
didn't mean to do
their
that.
relationship to Afghanistan, they have a villain role. Not all of them, but their government and intelligence, they're bad guys. Yeah, Taliban-ish, sabotaged Afghanistan, but I wouldn't want to blame in it. So I try to talk to some Pakistanis about how I felt and get the ball rolling, but they just want to sell vape pens and not really. I don't know how they do it. Yeah, all I could say is humans are sheeple, whatever the religion or race. So a lot of people are just go along to get along, and I thought that after 9/11, there'd be more unity amongst those people. And like I said, I explained white and black people are more, and Jewish, closer knit, or Middle Eastern people are if you're part of their immediate family, tribe, or culture, you know, inner group language. Then they're definitely trying to inflame the Islamic world too, though, through back to these videos of the Indians. So they're showing the Muslims being persecuted, Muslim women being attacked, having objects thrown at them, being beaten with sticks, young males being beaten with sticks. Like, some people are going to eventually retaliate, and it's amazing that they're not. And no one even talks about that. Like, look at all the shit they're going through, and there's literally nothing is going on. Not there should. It's just so that's my perspective, that Musk and big tech is putting out content to get people to respond. If they're in an ideology, they have to defend their profit or whatnot. It's people that have a super specific religious viewpoint. And they have a viewpoint too, similar to those that talk about karma, that Allah is allowing this and that. I actually was just talking about this in video. So I had talked to this person several times. Why am I bringing this up? Because there's so few women that I come across with any intelligence. If I do come across a few, first of all, this person was on my Facebook a few months ago around the eclipse saying, wow, you're coming across on my feed. Like, your energy is just wow. Hey, I want to send you these essential oils. Can I send you these oils? And then like trying to do like this life coaching with me. And there was like this sense of, I feel like this person's scamming me, setting me up to be like a customer. And then it seemed like she wanted me to become like a regular customer for like an MLM type of essential oils. And then when she wanted me to buy into a Veterans Day special because I, was upset with people that have blindly served the system. I'm like, why am I going to give somebody money that's going to like go off on a Veterans Day tangent? So she writes here, I spent decades as a exotic dancer in the most profitable and high-end gentlemen's club in some area. This real life embodiment of the feminine arts sets the stage to make me into the sought after alchemist and guide for women leaders. This the type of secret feminine alchemy that knows the difference between embodying a hardworking $500 versus magnetizing a soft and light 50K, all within the same amount of linear time in the same physical location and amongst the same
damn.
collaborators. This is a newsletter. Much of the previous golden gems of knowledge that can be only be embedded from living as queen of the underworld. That is such an unacceptable profession on the service world, which is why women hire me. They want the priestess guide in their royal chamber who holds a nourishing space.
Oh my God.
through the magical secrets of magnetizing for
How did you meet this bride? Fuck. This lady's out of her fucking mind, man.
They want the it's gonna hang up on me again. They want the priestess in their royal chamber who holds a nourishing space through the magical secrets of magnetizing. I gotta finish this. It's almost done. Their most authentic, soft, feminine way that includes plenty of space and time for high levels of self-care, fun, nourishment, rest. And with energetic boundaries so eloquent and solid, they receive only the highest level of respect. That has the MLM branch.
What are the conspiracy?
Oh, maybe that it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or may not be entirely safe. Maybe not conspiracy, corruption. MLM is often used for scams, not all scams, but get rich quick. But it doesn't mean that all essential oils are bunk. I'm kind of new to it. So I don't know what her agenda was. I'm not saying that she was nefarious. I'm saying it seemed like she wanted to keep talking to me to get me to be her customer, to sign up with an account, to be buying stuff on a regular month. So she was trying to convince me inside my head, that I needed this. And then she tried to turn around like I was the one who was acting like I needed her. So I was already like, oh, you're nuts. Was getting a nutty vibe from her. And then she told me Jillian Epperly, when I was watching this Vietnamese lady on YouTube, found her to be smart till she turned on me because I talked to her. She blocked me for saying you can't trust modern science. And yet this crazy Vietnamese woman, I think I may have told you about her.
Yeah, you did.
I'm going to edit this. I'm not going to put this on YouTube, or maybe I will. And she was on Dr. Phil for recommending some crazy drink with salt and vinegar. There's a whole Dr. Phil episode with her with like 4 million views.
I saw you sent me a link. I watched it.
I found her on accident going, wow, she's brilliant, because she does sound smart in her videos. She doesn't pitch the drink anymore. So I thought she was like, oh, just like a little Asian lady guru who just knows a lot about the conspiracy and seems to really want her audience to be accountable for the shit they created. In a nutshell, she has a lot of those rants: be accountable for the shit you created and expel your demons. But she's very obsessed with this expel your demons terminology. She's constantly talking about getting rid of your demons. Are you there? Getting rid of your demons through food and milk and meat. And she's big. So she's talking about getting rid of your demons through overeating. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, sometimes you just got to eat or sleep. She doesn't talk about sex so much. She says she used to be a nymphomaniac, but now she has a husband. But it sounds like she's talking about lots of eating and shitting to expel demons as a spiritual practice. If I'm hearing her right, lots of eating, lots of expelling demons over and over and over again. Like, whoa. And so when I was talking to this lady, and I sent her forward you the email so you can see her picture, she's like, oh, this lady has got demons up the ass. She took one look at Julia and she's like, fuck this lady. So it's funny when you get one lady looking at another lady. In some cases, they'll be like, that lady's nuts, but I'm legit. You can trust me. But that lady there, she's crazy. She's got entities, but I can heal you with my Babylonian astrology. Yeah. Yeah. So the internet here is choppy.
Yeah, they sound like crazy people to me. Bunch of crazy people, man.
Yes, there's no real intelligence locally. I've tried to like truth people and get people talking. I've thought about a meetup, and that would just be, yeah.
I had some guy contact me the other day. He emailed me, and so we started to. I called him up, and because he was inspired by my videos. Anyways, I psychoanalyzed him real fast, and I said, "Look, bro," I said, I don't mind talking to you or giving you advice, or I'm not asking you to give me anything. It's just, are you gay? And he goes, why do you ask that? And I'm like, because I'm not gay. I just want to get that out of the way, because a lot of times, for some reason, gay people are attracted to me. But if you're contacting me because you were inspired, by my looks or something, I'm not gay, like, at all. And he goes, I'm asexual. What does that mean? What does asexual mean?
You're asking me what it is? Oh, I think
Yeah,
if they're saying asexual, they're not sexual, I think.
Anyway, so we were talking for a little bit, and then he called me again, like, the next day. What he was doing was energy vampiring off me. And I fucking told him, I said, hey, bro, what you're doing right now is you're sucking energy off me. You're not talking about anything. You won't tell me anything about you. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to talk to you, who are you? Like, what do you do? What is your life? Like, what do you, And I just ended up going off on him. Not too crazy, but I told him, I said, you're energy vampiring off me.
Are you talking about a BitChute viewer? BitChute?
No, yeah. He found me on BitChute, and he lived in my area, and it was just overwhelming. Like 45 minutes we're talking, and I told him, I said, you haven't talked about anything at all. You're not talking about nothing. Like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, I'll talk to you, I'll give you advice. I'm not asking anything from you, but what the fuck do you want? And then I ended up hanging up on him. But you'll attract these people. They'll see you, like a guy like you or a guy like me. We give off a certain energy, you more than I do. And people are not only inspired by your energy, they'll reach out to you because they probably want to be around you, or they probably, want you to be connected to them. However,
yes and
guys
no.
like you,
but yes,
guys
yes
like you and I go attract crazy people.
I think there's an energy that keeps some people away, and there's an energy that drives or attracts some people that are unstable. There's a combination of things I think are going on in conjunction with YouTube suggesting, and maybe in some cases, the wrong people to my channel. But I want to believe that it's not all bad too. They're yeah, that it's not all the wrong people drawn.
I was just making that comment because we have a lot of similarities, that we put out energetic stuff. You way more than I do. And you're, like I had mentioned to you before, when you're a light, you're going to attract good things, but lights also attract bugs, and you just got to be careful, because you're dealing with people. We all are. This
Okay.
Recommend this knife. It's been tried and tested. It's only a $50 knife. You get it at Walmart, and it's a very, very reliable piece of equipment. Good knife.
Okay, if you want to send me a link, let me see what knife I did buy off Amazon and see if it's of any quality. I had a K-bar, I lost it. It was maybe 50 or 100. Okay, raw alerts. A Clinton airport executive has died after ATF federal agents raided his home and shot him. Might not be anything, but because there's a geomagnetic storm, I'm looking for any riot news, anything out of the ordinary. And so anything doing with like murder and shootouts will be things that I see as tied to this and related to this eclipse energy, in which some people are out killing others. You want to chime in also on the, so I'll be talking about this with, I don't even know how many people are going to be listening to this radio show. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I know that it's a national radio show, but
international,
over 600 stations.
Yeah, but it's international. Millions of people listen to that show. So my advice
Well, I'm
would
gonna be in a
be,
super calm state by the time that I get on the air. So I'm
yeah,
slow enough for I'm talking faster with you. I'm not gonna be talking this fast on the air. I'll be like, I'll be in the zone. I'll to the
my
best of my ability.
advice, if because I'm gonna listen to it, not tonight, I'll listen to it when it
All
comes
right, we'll
out
have
on.
it saved. Yeah, it'll be there.
Anyways, incorporate also about demonic and paranormal activity being influenced by these things. One, because people want to hear that, but two, because people need to hear that. People
Well,
need to know.
that is. Did I send you the link? I wrote a rant about that. I mean, I will, but did you? I did write a rant that goes on for a few pages about that. I'm going to bring that up. The thing is, I have so much in writing. I don't want to have too much because then I'll go off two directions. But I want to cover 2025, and on the source page, I wrote where I embedded, even though he's critical of anyone talking about racism, and he has a different opinion. I posted this pastor's video where he's talking about possessions by 2025. Alice Bailey's warning about the externalization of the hierarchy by 2025. I'm talking about the solar flares and people killing each other at the same time. There's a devil's comet passing by with this eclipse also. So it could be affecting us just like Comet Neowise, I'm convinced was influencing the protesters in the summer of 2020 on both sides. There was all types of tension around that summer of 2020, even though it wasn't high solar activity, not officially, the eclipse energy brought that out. So the paranormal possessions, because the energy, I think we were talking about this before we got cut off. I think because some people may have an entity attachment, that entity gets charged up in some cases. So if you have an undisciplined human being who gets drunk and loaded or has sex with the wrong people and more entities come into their body, just a combination of factors plus where they are on the planet, genetics, spirituality or lack thereof, combined with no self-control. And then bam, you have a possessed person. And so like it's very predictable that certain people with low self-control that open up the doorway in certain areas are going to be taken over. And then the science could even deeper in the future. Like this is no doubt weaponized by the power elite against the population, probably using advanced surveillance. And like Predator, I used the analogy in the past. I'm still going too fast for the radio show, but still, these are points that people listening are fast enough to listen and understand. Like Predator, looking at Schwarzenegger and seeing his heat signature. It's like we're being surveilled, our heat signature, our auras. I am convinced then the solar energy, when it's most active, our auras are just magnified, whether we know it or not. And there's all types of energy just oozing out of us. We're like loose machines, basically, which probably is the agenda behind why they want us to have a bunch of babies, to also live out the enslaved life on Earth, for their loosh to be harvested. Not there's no point in living, but they definitely want a population to suffer and there to be a sizable population. Look, they may want to depopulate. Look, this is the other conspiracy narrative that some people like to hear, that they don't always want depopulation in some cases. The other perspective is that they like these big populations and babies so they can have wars. So they're constantly like slaughtering people. If they depopulate too much, how are they going to slaughter people? So they do think they do want procreation so they can keep slaughtering. They're maintaining like a sick, weird balance of constantly maintaining a certain population and then slaughtering. I'm just going off on a tangent there. Anyway, that's what's been happening big time the last few months with Gaza and Israel, and it's brought out a darkness in people. Not everybody's discussing that in conjunction with it. But anyway, that darkness, I was already discussing it with Iraq and Afghanistan, with the vets and the shit they did. I can't go that far on the radio, I don't think. But yeah, they've already been playing with evil for years. People are so up in arms about the Israel-Palestine thing, and for good reason, but they didn't care about other groups. Certainly other Muslim groups they don't care about. That's the thing. I don't know if you knew that about the truth movement. Some people know it's an obvious one. They care only about Palestine because of this them versus the Jews type thing. They don't care about Muslims or Palestinians. It's like the enemy of the enemy is my friend type deal. So the media comes out and says there's Nazis with the Palestinians against the Jews. There's articles suggesting that. And so there are some. But yet other Muslim groups, they're seen as still subhuman by those same protesters. So you have both left and right wing that are coming to the aid of some Palestinians. Actually, it's actually a confusing situation. I don't claim to know it all, but I do see this as highly complex, more complex than other psyops, this current one, because it has people set on purpose in different positions. See, I've been doing this for a while. If they wanted people to care about the Afghan, Iraqi, or the people, then they would talk more about it in the media, and people would care, and they would make them care. With Palestine, it's different. What I'm saying is they are allowing people to care, is what I'm saying, because they want them part of some conflict. Look, these mobs of people. Yeah. They want people fired up to a point where, whether it be, people have talked about that for years. The plan to get Israel nuked, basically unfolding, creating the apocalypse, creating the biblical script and following it, making it happen, basically. So people expect Jesus to drop out of the sky. Yeah. Or the cross in the sky to start appearing, the Project Bluebeam. Russia Today was a part of the Project Bluebeam, if I remember correctly, in 2010 and 11. They showed lots of clips of like crosses in the sky without the context saying that it was like mind control, like acting like it was real and shit. So I think that RT was playing a role in all types of mind control. And I still haven't seen RT isn't really around. It might be around, but it's certainly not shared anymore. But that shit used to be the shit for conspiracy theorists for years. RT, Alex Jones, 2009, 10, 11, those years. And I don't know if you remember, they were going to have me on once, and then they backed out. Someone randomly contacted me, this Liz Wall girl who quit later because she got mad at Putin. And then she started being anti-Russia. She's like a part Asian. It's like she used to work at MSNBC or something like that, and then went to work for RT. It's very suspicious. You went for work for a Western outlet. I don't know. Yeah, RT always had an evil aura around it, and their reporters, all their reporters, most of them, with the exception of a few. Yeah.
Jesse Ventura's son is
yeah.
I used to like Jesse Ventura, and then I saw an episode to where he was on air with Pierce Morgan, and he was right before Jesse Ventura hates Pierce Morgan, and he was going to argue with him about the Second Amendment and 9/11 being an inside job. And this is when I realized Jesse Ventura is full of shit and an actor, and he's playing a role. Before the thing started, before Pierce Morgan and Jesse Ventura were on air together and were supposed to go at it, before they started recording, they were recording a pre-recording, and they were doing it from a side view. Jesse Ventura is sitting there laughing and giggling and talking to Pierce Morgan like they were best friends. And they say, we're going to be on in 5 seconds, 5, 4. And as they're counting down, Jesse Ventura goes, and as soon as he goes, we're live, and he goes, you think you're going to take away our Second Amendment? And I go, what a piece of shit. This guy's acting, man. And then he went into his whole spiel, and then Pierce Morgan, they're going back and forth. And I was like, were we meant to see that, or what the fuck was that? But there was absolutely nothing but love and respect, and they're happy to be there. And Jesse Ventura went into the WWF thing, but before that, he literally, his facial expression went to like, game time, and he literally went like, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing, and I was like, fuck, Jesse Ventura's part of this fucking, this charade, you know what I mean? I was like, God damn, man, not Jesse. I love Jesse Ventura. And then when you talk about that RT being evil, his son Tyrell, or whatever the fuck his name is, he's a real dark, just kind of creepy character.
Yeah.
And one time they were showing Jesse Ventura's son, and then this
Sean Stone.
Yeah, but anyways, they were just talking about dark shit, and like they can't wait till a time when like God will be taken out of the equation and things will be a lot more practical and secular, and it was just like a total dark satanic like thing going on there. You know, it was really weird, man. I was like, okay, this is fucking dark. You know,
Oh, I
creepy.
saw a couple of his son's episodes. It was in 2020 that I looked at RT before they pulled it from Roku. Um, Alex Jones I tried to record it with the camera and I lost the clip. I tried to find it, and it was basically showing the Muslim immigrants doing the Death to America thing and then showing clips from the movie 300 and then going back and forth, basically doing a mind control PSA that's pretty like we're coming to kill you type mind control. Anyway, I wish I found that clip. So Jesse Ventura, I'll just say, yeah, and he was a Portland wrestler. I heard he was kind of a jerk back in the day. And I remember watching when he met Alex Jones and Alex Jones convincing him about 9/11 and then liking Alex back then and watching that whole charade. And then seeing his conspiracy theory show and then not liking it and seeing it as making it to be a joke. But I liked his speech that was pro cannabis, you know, because his wife needs it for medical reasons. And he's got other positions that are non right wing positions, but he's definitely a showman. He's never exposed the WE for their corrupt things. I have lots of theories with regards to that and videos I made on that. So he's always made sure he never criticized them, you know, when other wrestlers did. So yeah, he's like part good guy, narcissist, maybe. Who knows what he's really like? Yeah, like everybody else, a mix of good and bad. Um, then there's some history with the American Sniper guy. He allegedly, so there's a story with him and the Sniper guy where he allegedly mouthed off and got punched out of his chair. So Chris Kyle or something likes to brag that he knocked down Jesse Ventura. Yeah, and then there's my friend that knew him in Portland when because they worked out at similar gyms in the 70s. Anyway, basically described him as an arrogant person. He said over and over though, oh, he didn't talk about being a Navy SEAL back in the day. So he maybe seemed like he had a conspiracy theory that maybe he wasn't a Navy SEAL. I'm assuming he was. That'd be a big one to lie about. Um,
You can look up his like every Navy SEAL graduates from a class number, and
uh,
there's a, so people have done the research, and Jesse Ventura graduated from SEAL training. He's a SEAL,
mhm.
like, and he went into like when you become a SEAL, you pick, like you could pick where you want to go, and he went into a underwater demolition SEAL team, and so he was an
Well,
underwater.
I know. Yeah, I heard that part. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I've heard real SEAL say, yeah, he was a SEAL. He just didn't go into like SEAL Team 2 or SEAL Team 5. Like, you know, he went into, I think it might be SEAL Team 7 or something as UD. It's a special unit. It's in his brother. The reason he did that is his brother it was a SEAL, an underwater demolition expert, and he went to go be with his brother. His real last name's Janos or something. He's Slovenian or Slovakian or something like some weird Eastern European. The fuck is he? Slovakian. What was something like that? So yeah, but the bottom line, all these people, in my opinion, are actors. They're Luciferian. They're Satanists, except they don't perceive that guy as a bad guy. They perceive him as the good guy, and they've been promised a place in this new world order system, in this caste system, in this Brahmin system they're going to bring us into. And so they play their role, and they're going to be comfortable when people like you and I are going to be ground into the ground like a cigarette butt. That's basically what it is. All these guys, Alex Jones, all these people, they're not gonna fight for people like you and I for their daughters and sons. It's just not gonna happen. You know, they're playing a role, but it's evil. They're the worst kind of evil because they're double agents. It's one thing when you know this guy's a piece of shit and he's selling us out, but when someone's a piece of shit and they're selling you out and then they're living under the same roof with you, in you know, collecting all your information and fucking your best friend like a bad wife would do. You know what I mean? That's the worst kind of, you know, it's a traitor. That's true sedition in you know, turning on your own people. And that's why those people are so bad and so evil and so demonic, is because they're an inversion of reality, you know.
I'm not a fan of Kyle Rittenhouse, but there's also more videos of mobs attacking. Because, see, I know psychically there's mob activity going on, even if it hasn't hit the web yet. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. So Kyle Rittenhouse event. Don't know if there looks like it's a BLM crowd. I don't like Kyle Rittenhouse at all.
He's a Freemason. When he was in court, standing up waiting for them to read off his thing, he had his hand in his jacket. See, when they do little things like this, it's called, in high level Freemasonry, there's a thing you do called mocking your victim, and that's a form of mocking your victim. He's showing you, for the people, as Freemasons say, that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, I'm a Freemason and I just played you. You got to look for these signs and symbols. It's like when they say Israel versus Palestine. Well, there's videos of Benjamin Netanyahu coming out on stage and meeting Yasser Arafat, right? The sworn enemies. And they walk out and they do the 5 points of Freemasonry, hand to hand. It's called the lion's paw, hand to hand, toe to toe, knee to knee, hand to hand. And then or hand to shoulder, and then you slide it to the back, and they whisper in each other's ear. And the guy whispers into his ear, and it says, Lord, protect us on this hunt, because they're predators. And so when you see that, and you know about Freemasonry, and you know about these secret handshakes, and you know all these things, that means something. And what it means is the world is a stage and we are the players. So real Jews and real Palestinians, yeah, they die, but at the top, they play us like a fucking fiddle. Benjamin Netanyahu is probably in the same Masonic club as Yasser Arafat. Regardless, they're brothers on the Masonic floor. They are equals, they are friends, and they are not Jews and Muslims, they're Freemason. Freemasonry is a religion, and it's a religion based on Luciferianism, Satanism. That's the religion that controls the world, is Freemasonry. And it's ancient, maybe millions of years old. And you see it change hats throughout history. Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, all these organizations are subgroups of the nucleus of Freemasonry. And you join it because you get perks, you get, you know, and you go high up in the level. Freemasonry goes up to 360 degrees. When you reach it, it's a full circle, a revolution. When you reach the 360th degree of Freemasonry, you reached apotheosis. And when that happens, an obelisk is dedicated to you. That's why there's an obelisk in Washington, D.C. dedicated to George Washington. That's why you see people like Rudolph Giuliani going over and being knighted by the Queen of England. It's because he fulfilled his part of his mission. He's knighted. He now goes up into a high order of Freemasonry, way above the 33rd degree. Once you go past the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, they call it the Order of the Veil. It's where everything goes dark. The flag of the LGBTQ movement, all that is the different color lodges that exist. Every color you see on that flag is the color of a Freemasonic lodge. They mock us and make fun of us and rub our nose in it, but most people can't see. It's called mocking the victim. If you look on the back of a 2020 quarter, they put a bat on it. The bat is supposedly where COVID-19 came from, the Wuhan lab. That bat that's on the back of a 2020 quarter, look it up. The day that COVID-19 started, I was looking on the Drudge Report, and there was an article that said COVID-19 came from a bat, and there was a picture of a bat. The very next day, I get a handful of change, and I'm going through it, and I grab a quarter, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It not only was a bat, It was the same fucking bat that I saw on the Drudge Report, except it was a black bat, and the one on the corner is a silver bat. They mock the fuck out of us. But they are very legalistic, and so they make legal declarations all the time. They tell us what they're doing. It's called an open conspiracy. And so even though they don't come out and directly say it, as long as they indirectly do it, it frees them from the karma of doing all these bad, evil things to us, because they're telling us this. And that's why Albert Pike said in Morals and Dogma, those that don't use their own brains are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. The end justifies the means, you know? So this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with sick, evil, rotten motherfuckers who have changed child sacrifice for Moloch over into a scientific category of abortions. A fetus. A fetus is Latin for a baby. They are always mocking us and making fun of us. And that's what's so frustrating to me, is when you point out such an obvious thing and people look at you and go, hey, you're probably one of those tinfoil hat guys. You know, and it's just like, fuck, man. Oh, it's just a coincidence Kyle Rittenhouse was standing there doing the whole fucking, you know, the hidden hand fucking sign. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like,
and then he goes on Tucker Carlson and he's Trump's best buddy. And Tucker Carlson looked embarrassed a few times when Kyle was on the first few days. He was like,
I saw,
I'm on Tucker Carlson.
I hate that guy.
Tucker Carlson was like,
okay, Tucker Carlson wears a red yarn fucking bracelet that symbolizes the Kabbalah. He's a Kabbalist. Okay, now people automatically think Jewish. Kabbalah goes back before all religions. It comes out of ancient Hinduism. Kabbalah comes out of ancient Hinduism. I saw Tucker Carlson argue with the guy over 9/11 and tell the guy, you're a parasite and you're a piece of shit if you think 9/11 was an inside job and you think our government had anything to do with it. That's all I need to see. That's all I need to see to go.
I cited the same video, the Adam Kokesh video.
That's all I need to see.
The Adam Kokesh video. Yeah.
And then when you see him on his news show and he has a little yarn bracelet that costs a penny, and I know that symbolizes the Kabbalah. Come on. You know what I mean? But if you say that to a normie, they just go, that's a coincidence. He has a red yarn tied around his wrist, right? This guy's a multi-gazillionaire. His dad was CIA. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating because, you know, everything that happens is happening to people like you and I, and the people we need to wake up laugh at us when we point out the fucking obvious of pure evil Satanism being rubbed and smashed. It's like taking a dog and rubbing his nose in shit, you know? So it's just fucking frustrating. It's crazy. Or when you talk about demonic possession, people look at you like you're fucking crazy. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't see this? Okay. Do you feel it? No. And it's just like, fuck, like, yeah, it's frustrating, man.
I was going to bring up the paranormal. I don't have all my points laid out, like point 1, point 2. I'm just going to, but yeah, I have a longer blog. There's a magnetic field influence. That's one. And that with the eclipse happens, something happens with some humans. The voltage of a soul has a role to play in whether or not someone is able to fight off the paranormal infection, if you will. And there was a rise in possessions before COVID. Even if it was a staged event, there was still, I think, something maybe. Anyway, there was a possession energy the year before it even happened. But hey, right now on Twitter, it says English employee racially abused and bullied for eating during Ramadan from Turning Point UK, which is definitely a right-wing group or page. So they're pushing this out. This is more Muslim invasion stuff of the Muslims pushing their beliefs on others, type of fear mongering. Even if there are some, this is being blown out of proportion, I'm sure of it, to make it seem like it's a part of like a new. So I'm gonna turn. You probably can't hear that, but it is a video of a guy confronting a white guy who's eating. making him feel bad because it's eating. He's not being super mean. And then he just puts his food away and walks away. And it's shared by a Muslim guy going, I do not care if our non-Muslim colleagues and friends eat in our presence while we're fasting. In fact, I feel weird when they feel they can't. I don't know what those two Muslims were doing, but their non-Muslim colleagues should not have been made to feel that he can't eat. So yeah, but that video going out there, if it's being promoted and suggested, that would be a brainwashing video then. Then there's another video that shows basically, and there's so many variants of this. The world has never witnessed such a violent regime who have no respect for international law or human life. Israel is a terrorist organization. And so it just shows like a couple Palestinians walking, and then bam, blown up. And I guess these are fresh videos. So these are new videos that I've never seen before, where people are just blowing up in front of you. I say faces of death stuff. So in this last year, yeah, there was some war footage in the past, but not quite as explicit. So yeah. And then trying to figure out what is the truth of the Russian war crimes, because the Russians are going to say there are no war crimes and the apologists, but according to some, they've raped and castrated people, and they're stripping people, and there's videos of people being strapped to freezing holes, basically, women and men, Ukrainians, I guess. Not sure exactly what all is going on there, but yeah.
Jesus.
I'm looking at a new Israeli tear ships shell fishermen. Fishermen are clearly trying to, and then of course they show, because again, this is back to the conspiracy. They're trying to get Israel nuked, basically, by these demon-possessed people in the IDF doing whatever they're doing. Basically, that's what it seems to me. Dressing with women's underwear or going through the Palestinian women's underwear, then posing with it. There's tons of those videos. Tons of videos of IDF videos of them doing stupid dances, like the TikTok videos, like the TikTok COVID, take the vax videos, same type of theme. We're going to go kill. We're going to go to war. We're dancing like, crackhead. And that would cause people to go, fuck the Jews, man. Fuck the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. That's all to me. Like, these people are just retarded. So they have their own, and you might know about that, but you might not if you're outside of it. There are Jews that talk about that indoctrination program that IDF people are into. I don't even bother to even watch it, but they're on YouTube. So then I know this guy Keith, who's like a homeless guy, Jewish, who's in Portland, who's all, I'm an anarchist, blah blah blah, about himself and how but yeah, he lives on welfare. He doesn't do protests anymore, just smokes pot all the time. He's kind of a complete defeatist, really. He's kind of a fake ass anarchist. Anyway, because he so identifies as being Jewish, and so does another guy, they're hating on. I know, I heard what you said. You deal with some rude Palestinians. I don't really know any. So I'm sure there's some that are radicalized. I don't doubt that. I think he's denying that Israel's doing anything wrong, I think, though. That's what it is. And he's starting to see Arabs. It's going to cut me off again. Arabs as Nazis. Yeah, because there might be some Arabs and Nazis working together, maybe. Yeah, that's messed up. I don't doubt that. But if people start thinking Arabs are Nazis, then that's, again, part of the demonization program to demonize Middle Eastern people, because most Middle Eastern people are not Nazis. But are there going to be some radicalized ones? Maybe, like with this anti-Jew thing of Israel. Yeah. Who knows? The government's probably fomenting all types of stuff. Yeah, I know that if I was in Europe, I'd be seeing different types of humans, foreigners. Again, the ones that are here in my region, they stick in their own clan. My immediate community is brown, Hispanic, black, with a few white folks. And then the immigrant class, they live in other metropolitan areas in the same area, in the same metro area, other towns, and they hang around each other. They're in cliques. Same thing with their Facebook groups. They're in tight cliques where an admin has to approve anything you say for your post to go through.
Wow.
So they're pretty good at keeping things clicky. I've tried to break outside into that clique and talk to them about reality, about the shit that's going to hit the fan, how we got to start talking about this stuff, especially if they're on the front lines and they're going to be affected. No, they don't want to hear any warning.